is our fifth and final of the series. You've joined us for 78's Halloween, 88's Killer Clown from Outer Space, 98's The Faculty, 2008's Cloverfield, and now for 2018, we're going to talk about Annihilation. It was directed, first off, it was released on February 23rd of 2018. It was directed by Alex Garland, who had previously directed Ex Machina. Hasn't apparently done a lot since then, but it's only been 2 years. This movie has the distinction of being the most recent of all the ones that we've talked about. But before he directed, he had wrote or co-wrote 28 Days Later, that really cool remake or reboot of Dread, the one that Carl Urban did, and that movie The Beach from a while ago. The cast is Natalie Portman. Obviously, we don't have to talk about who Natalie Portman is, but I'm going to point out that she was in Thor and the prequel Star Wars movies. There's a reason I'm pointing these things out. Jennifer Jason Leigh, who has been around for a while. Fast Times at Ridgemont High, Single White Female, countless numbers of other things. Gina Rodriguez, who was in Jane the Virgin. I believe she was actually Jane. Never watched it, but that's just... there was Tessa Thompson, who was also in Thor. Not one of the two with Natalie Portman, but she was in Thor. There was a really good BBC show called Copper that she was in, and then she's been in the Creed movies, which highly recommend those. Now you've also got Oscar Knight, who's going to be Moon Knight, and was in the new trilogy of Star Wars, and Benedict Wong, who was in Doctor Strange and a couple of the Avenger, like Endgame and Infinity War movies. So there's a lot of Marvel Star Wars going on here with this cast. What should lead us to a good movie, but we'll get to that. Starts with that good old classic trope of starting at the end, where it makes the entire movie a flashback. Natalie Portman's telling the Benedict Wong that almost everyone is dead. So you pretty much already know how the movie's going to go from here on out. We are shown a lighthouse with a weird shimmer thing, no explanation, and then immediately back to Natalie Portman teaching biology. There's a lot of jumping around. They don't really kind of explain a lot of things. There's a lot of wannabe thinking in this movie. Listen, I could go down the list and break down this movie like we've done for the other four. There is some pretty cool stuff in it. There's a really creepy alligator fight scene. There's a bear fight scene. There's Jennifer Jason Leigh. Her character name is Ventress, which also leads us to the Star Wars thing, because Ventress was in the Clone Wars. So every time they talked about Ventress, I was like, ooh, Star Wars. This is not a good movie. This movie was crap. It wanted to be something that it looked good. It was well acted. Like, it was all fancy and bells and whistles. I have a bunch of page of notes, and I don't really want to go through it. There's so much just incessant babbling. Let's see. I have like backstory of 3 years that Jennifer Jason Leigh tells Natalie Portman some shit. Like, there's just the movie, it falls apart on the script level. I mean, the script is bad. Alex Garland did not do a good job of writing this movie. I don't know the source material. There's a book that he took it from, but I guess he didn't want to follow the book exactly, so he followed the spirit of the book, or how he remembered the book. It starts somewhere and it just never reaches what it wants to be. They try, it never commits. Kind of like I'm not committing to this. There is a scene where Gina Rodriguez, who I will say, I don't know her as an actor. I've never seen anything that she's been in. I looked up her IMDb. She might be a great actress. Jane the Virgin, I know a lot of people love that show, but she was not good. I don't know if she just didn't understand the material or didn't fit with the character. But there's a scene in the movie where the group, because the group is these women going into this shimmer with it slowly taking over this one area, and inside the shimmer where they keep sending groups of people and nobody ever comes back. It's some sort of alien thing going on. We find that the alien thing is causing like DNA to mutate and like plants to do things, and this big cool kind of crocodile to show up. There's this really awesome bear that learns how to imitate humans that kills some people. But as the movie goes on, the group is getting more mentally frayed. I wrote my patience with the movie is also leaving. There's one girl whose name I don't remember. I didn't write her actress name down, nor do I write down the name that she gave. I just refer to her as Other Girl because I don't care. I never cared. She's killed by a bear, and it made things better. When I chose the movies that I chose, I chose this one because it was one I had wanted to see, where the other movies I had chosen because I had seen them or had seen enough of it that I had a passing interest in them. I know I ended up not liking The Faculty as much as the other ones, but I had seen it and it was at least enjoyable. I should have done a better job with choosing 2018, but the other horror movie that kept coming up was Hereditary, and I had seen that one, and I hate that movie more than this one. So 2018 is a little bit of a rough year for horror, apparently. They didn't do some good. They didn't do. Audience can tell me what 2018 horror movies I missed, and I should have done over this one. This one wanted to be a horror movie. It wanted to be science fiction horror. It wanted to be a thinky movie. It wanted to be art house. It wanted to be a bunch of things, but it could never just coalesce and commit to being one thing. It's Gina Rodriguez was part of it. I wrote Gina Rodriguez somehow. Oh yeah, Oscar Isaac, who I talked about, was in this movie. Was Natalie Portman's husband. He was the only person who had ever come out of the shimmer, and he was falling apart and blah blah blah. But Natalie Portman never told them that he was her husband. So that point gets to where when Gina Rodriguez finds out, she ties everyone up, and then I write, as her weak acting of crazy further drags down the movie. She, at least for this particular movie, was not pulling off crazy. It didn't work for her. And then the bear rips her jaw off, and problem solved. There's a weird dance fight scene with the alien and Natalie Portman at the end of the movie that never really... At no point do they ever really discuss what is going on. They leave a lot of it up to interpretation, which I've watched a lot of movies that I really like, and I'm fine with that. But in this particular movie, I found it to be annoying. It never, like I said, I knew when I was watching this movie for the second time today that I was going to have a hard time doing this review. because they also, when they finally catch back up and all of the flashbacks and the flash forwards and the who's doing this and who's doing that kind of comes together, and they meet back at the end of the movie. Natalie Portman is told that her husband, Oscar Isaac, as soon as Natalie Portman killed the alien and made the shimmer go away, that he got immediately healthy, and everything was back to normal, and they allow the two of them to like go into a room and they're hugging, and then there's a weird eye thing, which is like, oh, neither of them are actually who they say they are. They're probably the aliens. Ooh. Overall, this movie was trying to be something it could not commit to. I didn't know if it wanted to be a straight-up sci-fi or straight-up horror or straight-up art house. It wanted to be Alien. It wanted to be The Mist. It wanted to be 28 Days Later. It wanted to be something thinky, and it just kept falling in on itself. One of the trivia things was talking about how one of the producers of the movie saw one of the final cuts and wanted them to go back and reshoot a bunch of it because it was overly complicated and not good, and the director and the other producer refused because they just did. I think maybe in most cases the producer who's like, you should do this, you don't listen to, but maybe in this case you should have listened to him, because it just failed on so many levels. I mean, it looked beautiful. I mean, the cinematography was amazing. Other than Gina Rodriguez, the acting was pretty solid. It was interesting. Apparently, Oscar Isaac, who was Poe Dameron, was shooting Last Jedi at the exact same time as he was shooting this movie. So they just put his trailer in the middle of the two sets. And so, like, one day he went over to Star Wars, the next day he went over to Annihilation, and so, like, some days even shooting in the same movie, shooting on the movie at the same day. He probably should have just stuck to Last Jedi. I know that a lot of people hated Last Jedi, but at least that was good. Like, it was way better than this movie. Had it just committed to being a horror movie, like when it had the big alligator that was trying to eat them, or the big scary bear with the skull head that could talk like a person, or at least imitate people, had it stuck with the people who had some snake or something in their stomach, like, it was effective, it worked, but it didn't want to commit to being a full-on horror movie. And there is a long history of good sci-fi horror. I mean, the best example being Alien or Aliens. This, I think, is just a poor example. I think it was somebody trying to be more thinky than they should have been, or not thinky enough. I gave it a 1.5 out of 5. This, unfortunately, being the final movie in our series, is also the worst movie in our series. So I apologize. If we do this again next year for Halloween, I will try to do a better job of picking the movies. Maybe we'll have a better job of, maybe we'll let the audience pick the movies for me. I don't know. We'll do something. I'm sure that those of you who are watching this will shred me and rip me for not being smart enough to get it. But if you look at Rotten Tomatoes, you've got an 88 for critics, and it falls down to 66 for audience. You've only got a 6.8 on IMDb. So I think there's a lot more people that agree with me than agree with those of you who are going to shred me. And I'm fine with that. I get it. I hated Godfather, which is probably also going to get some bad comments, but whatever. I I should have taken the time to look at some other horror movies from 2018, but it was too late to go back and redo it. So these are the choices that we're left with. So I'm going to recommend, as we look back at the rest of the series, Halloween, I think, is clearly the best of the ones that we did. Actually, it's kind of a sliding scale. I would say you go 78, 08, 88, 98, 2018. But generally speaking, I mean, Killer Clowns from Outer Space is not your cup of tea. I get it, but it was a hell of a lot of fun. I mean, it wasn't good, but it was fun. The Faculty could have been better, but it was still fun. Cloverfield was just amazing, top end to bottom end. Halloween gave us the movies that we love, while still being a good movie and something worth going back and rewatching. This movie, now that I've seen it and I've reviewed it, I don't think I'm going to need to see Annihilation again. It doesn't appeal to me. I don't need to have to think as hard about a movie as they want me to. I'm willing to watch a movie where I have to think. I just want to be, I guess, prepared for it or have a reason to have to think about it. This movie was just a mess. It was just a mess, and it was all over the place. So I don't recommend it. My side of the pop culture roulette stamp does not get put approval for this one. Like I said, 1.5 out of 5. This has been fun through the decades of horror. I've been Nicholas, and Pop Culture Roulette. Oh, I'm going to steal directly from Media Pod Smash. Pop Culture Roulette, signing off.